Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 12 Days of Deltarune. Today, I'm just going to be doing a character ranking for Deltarune. If you've watched any of my other series where I do these sort of character-based explorations, excuse me for that, I dropped my pen that I have for blueprint stuff I was moving. Anyway, if you've watched any of my other series, I'll usually do these character rankings as I go. The difference with Deltarune is that there hasn't been that much of it yet. But, you know, I thought before we go into Chapter 3 and 4, I'm going to rank the characters about how much I like them. And this is going to be based off of Deltarune alone. So, you know, somebody like Alphys, for example, Alphys, hasn't had a lot to do in Deltarune, obviously. Papyrus hasn't even showed up, so yeah, that's what we're doing. So let's just get the people that aren't in, unless you believe in specific theories, perhaps. Anybody else who's just literally not here? I mean, Asriel we haven't seen yet, neither has Papyrus, but we've heard about them, so I'm going to probably put them in, or at least Papyrus in D tier, because we know nothing about him in this world. I do think I want to save Asriel, because we know a little bit more about Asriel. So, okay, let's just start. Alphys. I do think being a teacher suits her better than being the lab scientist, but again, that's not really what I'm ranking on. In the actual game, she's like kind of funny, but like solid C tier probably for her Deltarune contributions. Undyne is honestly D tier in Deltarune. She's kind of lost. Like, all the stuff that I like about her from Undertale, she doesn't have in Deltarune yet. Like, maybe she's going to show up in Chapter 3. We don't know yet. But, you know. Yeah. Asgore. I feel kind of similarly to Asgore the way I do with Undyne, except he has had a little more screen time. And I do think there's a little bit of interesting characterization, where, like, Toriel gives Chris a huge hug, and then Asgore also does that, but at the end was like, oh, sorry, I forgot you don't like that kind of stuff. So it kind of contrasts them in an interesting way. I guess he can go in B tier. Actually, no, he can go in high C tier. Let's just be fair. You know what? Let's just get all the Undertale characters out of the way. Toriel's probably got the most going on already, and she's about to have even more with Chapter 3. So I think it's a safe B tier. I think she's done pretty well in here. I like it. Sans, I mean, he also hasn't really done anything, but he is Sans and has continued to be Sans. So, Mettaton, technically hasn't showed up, but kind of, from behind the door of the Blook's house, you can hear from Mettaton. Kind of depressing, honestly. That Mettaton is just probably never going to have his ideal body in this universe. So, like, that sucks. It's still probably C tier, though, just because, again, barely seen anything. Yeah. Asriel. I do think there is some interesting characterization with Asriel here as, like, the golden child who has, like, a bunch of trophies, and everybody in town loves him. And seems to have a special relationship with Chris where they trust each other very much, even though it seems like it's weird because on one hand, it almost seems like Chris might resent Asriel a little bit, but at the same time, they're like desperate to reconnect with him. Like when the library goes out, or the internet goes out, rather, they're trying to find other ways to talk to Asriel, and Alphys, specifically when Chris falls asleep in Alphys' class, is like, oh, did you spend all night talking with Asriel again? It's weird. It's complicated, for sure. And I kind of like that. I do. Alright, Birdly. This is actually kind of a spoiler for the next video in this little series, which is going to be looking at community rankings for all of these Deltarune tier lists. People do not like Birdly, and I find that kind of funny because he's purely a comic character, like a comedic character. And I feel like people take him maybe a little too seriously. Then again, whatever. He's like, I'll put him in B. I think his comedy is successful, personally, but I can see why people would find him annoying. I just, that's kind of the point. And I don't think he's, like, obnoxious, where I just want to get him off screen as fast as possible. You know what I mean? Jevil. This is kind of a weird one. Let's leave the Dark World characters to the end here. Chris, I really like Chris. Chris is a very interesting protagonist, which is something I could not say for Frisk in Undertale. And, I think they're just going to keep getting more and more interesting as time goes on, so I like that. Susie. Susie's okay. I mean, I know people really love Susie. I think she's a good character. She's just not, like, complex, I guess, is the best way to say it. I feel like we already know everything about her at this point. And, like, she had her character arc in Chapter 1. And I do think in the future chapters she will get more interesting. But right now, she's like, okay. Kind of feel the same way about Ralsei, by the way. I know I just skipped ahead in line here, but I got to strike while the iron's hot. Ralsei is also probably going to have some pretty interesting character changes and developments as time goes on. But right now, honestly, he's like top of C tier. Noelle. I do also think Noelle is very interesting. I like everything that the Weird Route told us about Noelle as a character. And, even the sweepstakes, it's no surprise she was the center focus of it almost. Like, it was coming from her. It was very good. I like it a lot. Queen. I mean, she's also funny. Like, definitely funnier than Birdly. I do like her boss fights, but as a character, she's kind of just there as a foil for Mayor Holiday, who we haven't met yet, but also kind of Toriel, so that kind of makes sense. In the same way, King is kind of a foil for like Asgore and the other father figures in the world that we haven't met yet. Yeah, I'll put her in A, sure. Okay, now we have Jevil and Spamton. This is funny. Comparing the two as characters, I think Jevil is interesting, but I don't think he's, like, my favorite, Like, the concept of him seeing the outside, like, the bounds of this universe or something, and wanting to be outside of it by being unloaded, maybe. I don't know. His idea of freedom and control and all of that, relationship with Sham, interesting. But, like, Spamton's just got so much more going on. I can't really compare them, almost. It's kind of sad, but, it's fine. I am very interested to see what the Chapter 3 secret boss will be, and if they have even a chance of being as relevant as, say, Spamton or even Jevil, because the interesting thing about Chapter 3 is this is the first secret boss we're going to have who isn't going to be the only secret boss we have. So, like, is the Chapter 4 secret boss going to totally overshadow the Chapter 3 secret boss? I guess we'll have to find out. But anyway, yeah, that's the list. Nothing too complicated here, nothing too surprising, I don't think. But let me know who your top 3 characters are in Deltarune so far, because I feel like these 3 are pretty safe bets. Maybe throw a Susie in there somewhere. Or maybe a Ralsei. I don't know. But yeah. That's it. Hope you're looking forward to tomorrow's video. And I will see you then. Bye.